Namaste. My name is Neelima. Welcome to Reflections Along the Way podcast, where you will be listening to reflections from learnings and experiences along my life's journey. In the previous episode, we talked about the nature of the self and how we have to transcend the three bodies to realize our true nature. We have learnt that we have to do that by analyzing and discriminating these 5 different layers as different from the self, which is called Panchakosha Viveka in Sanskrit. Now, this consciousness, which is the enlivener of each individual human being, is also the same consciousness that is the substratum for the entire cosmos. So, in short, the substratum of the microcosm, the individual jiva, is the same as the substratum for the macrocosm, the cosmos, the universe, jagat. In the case of the individual, the substratum is called Atman, self. In the case of the macrocosm, this is called the supreme reality or Brahman. Now, this consciousness that's functioning through the aggregate of all the gross bodies is called the cosmic form of the waker, Virat, in Sanskrit. And the consciousness which is functioning through the aggregate of all the subtle bodies is called the creator, Hiranyagarbha, in Sanskrit. That's the cosmic form of the dreamer. And the consciousness functioning through the aggregate of all the causal bodies, of all the total vasanas, which is also known as Maya, is called Ishvara, the cosmic form of the deep sleeper. So just to go through it again, in the microcosm, jiva level, the individual level, the consciousness functioning through the gross body is the waker. The consciousness functioning through the subtle body is the dreamer, and the consciousness functioning through the causal body is the deep sleeper. In the macrocosm, the consciousness functioning through total all gross bodies is Virat. The consciousness functioning through all the subtle bodies is Hiranyagarbha, and the consciousness functioning through all the causal bodies is Ishvara. The combination of the cosmic waker, Virat, cosmic dreamer, Hiranyagarbha, and cosmic deep sleeper, Ishvara, constitutes the cosmos, the macrocosm. Just like how the vasanas in a person are the cause for his mind and intellect, which in turn are the cause for the gross body, the total vasanas, Maya or Ishvara, is the cause of the total mind intellect, Hiranyagarbha, which creates the total universe, Virat. So, Maya is therefore considered the root cause of the universe. Now, we had discussed before that the individual, jiva, is comprised of perceiver, feeler, and thinker. Now, the sum total of all the jivas in the world is the concept of God, the Lord, Ishvara. This Ishvara, that's the God principle, not the individual gods or deities, Rama, Krishna, or Shiva. The particular incarnations, avatars such as Krishna, are manifestations of the God principle. So this sum total of all the jivas in the world is the concept of God, Ishvara. Consider a piece of cloth that has some beautiful decorative flowers woven into it by the same thread of which the cloth is made of. And these patterns together, these individual flowers together, form an image of a beautiful flower garden. This total image of a flower garden is similar to our total concept of the world, which is the Jagat, with its oceans, mountains, continents, countries, deserts, everything. Now, in what does this piece of cloth exist? Does it have like a separate existence apart from the thread? If we were to take out all the threads from this cloth, where would the cloth be? The cloth is a thread, right? But when we don't see the thread and we just see these patterns of the flower garden on it, we accept the concept of a flower garden. Now, this thread is a symbol for the God principle, Ishvara. These individual decorative flowers symbolize the individual beings, jivas. The totality of patterns, the flower garden in total, that represents the total world, Jagat. Now, what is the essence of this flower garden? Is it not the same as the thread? If there was no thread, then there would be no pattern, right? Similarly, if there is no God principle, there would have been no world. All these varied forms and names, Nama Rupa, is the total concept of the world that we see. But in essence, this world is nothing but a pattern with the God principle as the substratum. If we take away this divine principle, the God principle, then the entire pattern must necessarily perish. Just as like if there was no thread, there is no cloth. If all the threads are removed, there is no cloth, right? Now, if we go one step deeper into this analogy, what is a thread made up of? Was the thread born by itself? Does it exist by itself? What is the cause of the thread to exist? If we look at it from the standpoint of the cloth, then the thread is the cause. So what is the cause for the thread? So the cause for the thread is cotton. If there is no cotton, the thread wouldn't exist, right? So if there is no thread, the cloth won't exist, neither would the patterns exist. In cotton, all the three, the thread, cloth and patterns exist. And into cotton, all three will go when thread, patterns and cloth are destroyed. The relationship between the individual ego and God is the relationship between each flower or each pattern and the thread. God is this immediate transformation of that permanent truth, the supreme reality. And the next transformation down is the human being or the jiva. In the analogy, in the example explained, each individual pattern is the jiva. The total image of a flower garden is the Jagat. The thread is the God principle, which is Ishvara. And the cotton is the supreme reality, the highest truth, the permanent truth, Brahman. So according to Vedanta, the supreme reality undergoes no changes whatsoever. Just as the cotton always remains cotton. We give cotton various names according to the form it takes. We give it the name thread at one stage. At another stage, we give it the name cloth. So according to our changing perspective and from which standpoint we are looking at stuff, the same piece of cloth changes its impression on us. When we just casually look at it, we see it as a piece of cloth. If we look a little more deeper, we see it as threads that constitute that cloth. When we take a little more closer look, then we have the vision of the cotton from which the thread is made. Once we have this vision of cotton, we no longer see the difference between all these various patterns, nor between the different kinds of cloth. We know that it's the same, the essence is the same. So in a very similar fashion, once we have the vision of the reality that's underlying in all things, no change in name and form can take that away from us. The plurality of names and forms merges into this one reality and the substratum underlying all the things. So nothing new is ever created by anyone. A change in name and form is what creation is basically. In creating anything, there are three essential factors that are necessary, which is called the cause. So if we think of like a creation of a vase that a potter creates with clay, the three factors are the raw material, which is a material cause of the creation, which is clay. The instrumental cause, which is the equipment used in the creation, is the potter's wheel. The efficient cause is the intelligence behind that creation. And who is that? It's the potter. If we see all the different vases that are created in the world, the material cause and the efficient cause are different. But when we think of the creative process of the finite from the infinite, then the material cause and the efficient cause are one and the same. Just like the waves in the ocean, they are emerging from the ocean, they exist in ocean, and then they are merging back into the ocean. Similarly, the plurality of the world is nothing but a play of names and forms upon the supreme reality, Brahman. And now, what is the relationship between this microcosm and macrocosm? That varies depending on the individual personality. A person who has tons of vasanas imagines that there's like a big gap or difference between the microcosm, and microcosm means himself or herself, and the macrocosm, the world or the universe. To that person, the individual and the world and the cosmos are like poles apart. As the individual cleanses himself or herself of these vasanas, and in the process reducing all the ego-driven concepts such as I-ness and my-ness, this individual begins to find that his or her individuality is blending harmoniously with the world around him. In the final stages of evolution or progress in the spiritual path, when the ego is completely gone, then the person recognizes a perfect oneness between himself and the cosmos. There's only one reality that remains.
Thank you for listening to today's reflections. If you'd like to connect with me, please visit bluishmuse.com. Until next time, Namaste.